how this works.
Yeah, that's right. We could go right down the line. We're going to be so rich.
Right now. All in favor, the one over here.
All right. Start with our good analyst.
Ready to go? Yep.
Yes,
So
go.
those in the room to make sure you're here for the right thing. This is LD 1483. It's all about trash. And those listening in from afar. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, as you all know, a lot's already been said and presented about this issue. I thought I would just real briefly address what the actual original bill purports to do that's in front of you. As I noted in my analysis as in front of you, there were a number of different points of testimony for, against, and neither for nor against. I tried to summarize the salient comments for you that you can review. There were also a number of amendments that have been proposed by various parties that were presented either in an actual drafted form or as a concept at the public hearing, including 3 amendments proposed by the sponsor and the drafter of the bill. I've also noted for you a number of different requests for information for the work session that was asked at the public hearing. In essence, this bill creates a subset account of the Maine Waste Solid Management Fund, and essentially the department would place an assessment on any waste that is deposited in a landfill, a licensed landfill within the state. Those assessment amounts would be collected and placed in the fund, and they would be periodically dispersed to qualifying or eligible municipalities, recycling or composting programs. The point of this is to stabilize the issues that were created in the state with the waste-to-energy facilities losing the expiration of their PERPA contracts, as well as the decrease in the wholesale electricity rate. There are a number of technical issues that I've identified for you with the language in the bill. Minor things that you may want to consider changing if we do want to go forward with the original bill as proposed. I did not include it in there, but as I was doing a little more review, I'm not sure that everyone is reading the formulas that are used for determining the assessment and disbursement rates in the same way. I found them to be a little confusing at certain points. Section 5 of the bill is the assessment, the formula for calculating the assessment. One question I had, it refers to, in section 5.
Technical issues. That's what you're. Oh, you're.
This is something I had not included because I wanted that printed up yesterday. In section 5B, it refers to the total annual capacity of all certified waste processing facilities. Capacity, I think, is generally read, would suggest the amount of waste that they're actually capable of processing, rather than the actual amount of waste that's processed in the reported period. I'm not sure if this is what was intended. Section 3, 2201-B, this would be 3, calculates the method, the formula for determining the disbursement amount. I think it might need to specify a little more, and if this is in fact the idea behind Section A, that's the calculation for the municipality recycling or composting program that is applying for the disbursement. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say is that it uses the phrase each certified waste processing facility. So I'm wondering if this is meant to refer to the waste processing facility that municipality recycling or composting program transports
quirks and the perks and the perks. And so, I need help just in making sure when we're talking about these various elements of this larger system that I actually understand what component we're on and what that actually is. So, as I say, that may be a side issue for me, or it might be something I want to make sure. So that's one piece for me. Then the second piece is that my thought was if we could adopt some underlying principles that we could all agree to, then whatever Pete was proposing, we would have some criteria by which to say we want to embrace that or not. Because, it is large and it is complex, but if we're not in agreement about some underlying principles, then, this could take the rest of this session.
On your first issue, I totally understand your request about that because I've been hearing these acronyms for 5 years and I finally am beginning to really understand them, but we will just stop and ask if you need clarification. But, each of the facilities has their own acronym and it can be challenging, so just stop and say, now, which one are we talking about and what does it do if you need help with that. The second piece is I know the subcommittee, in our report to the committee, one of the basic first things we did agree on was the commitment to the law that is the hierarchy of the state, and that certainly might be one of the first things that we may want to agree or not agree on. I know Senator Saniello has some thoughts about the EPA and our current statute, but is that what you're suggesting? That kind of you might.
I think what I'm suggesting is that we just clarify, are we in agreement about some underlying principles? And certainly that is an example of applying the hierarchy to our state-owned landfills. Or is Tom thinking of not which hierarchy, so we both all understand we in agreement about a hierarchy, which one it is, and that we agree it should be applied to our state-owned landfills or to any of this work. So we're just on the same page. Some of these things sound obvious, but we've never really clarified are we all in agreement about something.
Just point of clarification, our statute is for all of the state, not just state-owned. I mean, that we currently have now.
But it would appear, that it's not obvious to me that we are applying that hierarchy to our state-owned landfills. And either we're in agreement that we should be, and therefore we need to make sure that we find a very clear way to establish that. Just like, that it seems to me as I've listened to the conversation, there is an underlying principle, I assume, which is that wherever possible we will divert waste away from landfills. That we do need a comprehensive 10-year plan statewide, as well as that we distribute whatever pain there is in the system across this state equitably. Those are examples to me of what I call underlying principles, so that whatever people are proposing to us, that would be a way for
lot of disagreement from a lot of different areas for a lot of different reasons. So I challenged the folks from the Waste to Energies to, having heard those concerns that were expressed here, to come back with some other ideas, another plan that we think would be more comprehensive and cover some of those things that you're talking about, Representative McGowan, including. So I would just refer the committee to the pieces I asked our clerk to hand out to you, which have Doyle and Nelson at the top of it. They came up with some ideas that I really was intrigued by and thought we should discuss. There were some other suggestions through the public hearing process, and I think it came out loud and clear that if you look down on the cover where it says items 1 through 6, item 6 I think everybody can agree with in concept, creating a study committee or stakeholders panel in charge with developing a new comprehensive solid waste management plan for the state. I think we all had some concern about not just the bottom rungs of the hierarchy, but looking at the top rungs of the hierarchy as well. And so, in my opinion, this proposal could be used to stabilize the entire hierarchy, not just the waste energies versus the landfilling. So, since we have so much before us, I also have some comments I asked to have passed out to you, items 1 through 6. This was from the Natural Resources Council. Maine has some concepts that they wanted to share with us. My thinking at this point is we have so many different ideas and concepts that it might be useful for us to go down through some of these and then ask our analysts to come up with a chart for us, like you did when you were looking at the mining bill last session, where you had all the different participants with their ideas, and you had some of the problems to be solved on one side, and that way we could look at each element, we could see where there's commonality, and we could see where we know we're going to have agreement on this, this, and this. Here are the nitty-gritty issues we really need to get down to. So that's kind of my thinking at this point. We've had some great ideas thrown out at us, and I think this particular proposal is a good place to start. That's just where I'm coming from. But you may have some others, and I'm interested to hear them.
No, it's turned off. Body language, acknowledged.
That's my suggestion.
So we have a couple of suggestions, and we definitely have some proposals, ideas in front of us. Are there other committee members? Yes,
I
Senator.
don't know anything to go blanket, but I guess I will, so that we all know where our caucus is coming from. We are not in favor of any fee increase at all. So, and I do really appreciate all the work that the good representatives done. I don't want to be negative about it, but I've gone through this, and we talked this morning. We can't support a fee increase. I do believe that the hierarchy, I think that definitely there's an agreement in my mind that we should look at the hierarchy, and as I said the other day, I think we should accept the EPA hierarchy, and if we can put some teeth into it and find a way to do so. I think that I build on what I saw the DEP's solid waste plan, as much as I picked on them as far as where's the time schedule. I think we need to focus on that. When you build a Pareto chart, to me, when you build what's not being recycled, it's compost material. 38% or 40% is not going anyplace. So what's the barrier to that? What's stopping that from happening? I think that there are fuel sources out there, and Melanie knows that I've been asking about the fines at KTI. My understanding, they can go to PERC with the minimal license changes because their waste energy facility, there is a large fuel supply down there, very large. Now, I'm not going to get into the negotiations of the economics of it, but it's there. I think that if there are trash issues, and what I heard here is that the guys from Triano, that they go up there sometimes and they're full, and then there are other times and they're empty. And so what do we do to fill up those empty times? Is it the fines, or is it maybe out-of-state trash? As I've said before, make money on other people's money. I think Dolby needs to be included in this conversation because we took Dolby as a public responsibility last session. And now to hear that they have to go through a public assessment or a public value before they go forward, I'm sorry, we accepted a $14 million dollar liability. I think we accepted that give them some flexibility, which may help out some of the number of other issues that are out there. Because I have been taking there's 1 million feet up there. I was told yesterday there's 8 million potential cubic feet up there. I mean, I just share these with you because I also talked to MMA this morning, literally. This is one that Robert and I, we talked on the way in. Without even talking to each other, we came to the same thing. This is a town problem. Because the towns, at the end of the day, if we don't have capacity, are going to be paying for this. So they've got to be a bigger part of this solution. And so one of the things I asked MMA, would they consider in their annual meeting of doing some kind of a solid waste symposium, where there'd be a number of things in that symposium. There would be the technologies that are available out there, maybe even to a community to become a regional treatment center. And then what are the barriers of that happening? What are those that are doing a really good job on recycling? I mean, Ricky shared with me this morning, his small community is recycling everything. They've got a very high recycling rate. So when I hear that being a rural, which I represent a lot of them, is sometimes an excuse for not recycling, how come they can complete it? What are the barriers for that? And so those are the things that I think that, and I got a commitment from Jeff this morning, and Garrett kind of is here, and he certainly, by conversation with him this morning, is that they would be interested in it. This is a real opportunity for us to do that. So it kind of fits with what Paul said in a one way about long-range plan, but they have got to be part of that conversation, and they themselves can come up with some potential solutions. What are the barriers, you know? And I've talked with Jim a little bit about it. We're going into March, and I believe that we're going to find in March we're going to have some time. That's my personal opinion. You may be surprised and be fooled, but to talk about like what we did with LD1 when we invited people to come into the room, and we may not be reporting out a bill, but we said to them, tell us what your problems are, because we got overwhelmed with everybody else, and we never got to the people that are on the ground making the difference out there. And they told us stuff that made a big difference in how we approached LD1. I think we may have the opportunity to do that, to bring them in and say, what are the problems for beneficial reuse? Have you got a product that we've got some regulation we put into place that blocks you from doing it? And we've done something that composting that keeps you from growing? We don't know that. We need to start, that begins into the stage of ultimately leading into the symposium, which gives us a really nice place to present something on into the next term. That's my thoughts.
So I have it. So what further thoughts then do you have about our waste to energy challenge?
What I would do is I would put it into a resolve, kill this bill, because it's too complicated to go clean it up. And I would put this into a resolve. And I don't have the specific language because I didn't work on it, but it goes back into the fact that I'm focusing on not the energy part. I'm focusing on what are we doing to get things out of the waste stream. I'm focusing on the upper part of the hierarchy. That's where the problem to me lies.
So I'm just trying to listen carefully to what you're saying. As a follow-up to Joan's question, this is a town problem. So the waste to energy challenge is their problem. It's their town. They should solve it. If we look at it from the perspective of the fee, any fee that's proposed can be avoided by reducing tonnage. So all of those, that is another way to incentivize recycling, which is why that fee was instituted in the first place in the law back 2 decades ago. So I would just ask that question. Are you saying that we just leave this alone, we kill this bill, we let the waste energies go out, and then we landfill everything?
No, I didn't say that. What I said is that there are one waste energy facility that's owned by the municipalities. The other one that basically, in my mind, owns them. They can make their own decisions as municipalities. There's one business and they have to make a business decision. That's their choice. What I'm saying is I'm a selectman in the town of Wilton. So when you tell me that it's going to cost me, I shared this the other day, 20 cents a bag or 50 cents a bag, multiply that on out. In my community, that's a $60,000 bill to the property tax people. Right now, we're fighting to just keep a policeman on at half of that amount. We're trying to take care of our roads. We know we're faced with a 1.3 mil increase. So yes, I have a short-term issue, but I have an issue that's real probably for the next 3 years. So I'm not going to increase their property tax because that's where it's going to go in my community and many of the communities that I represent. but I want to give them incentive to figure out what they can do. We've got a single sort. We made that decision because we wanted to get more material out of the waste stream, and it's increased, I would say, our percentage by about 8%, at least on those solid waste streams, which is pretty significant from our perspective. That's what I'm trying to say. That's where I am. I just can't go there right now. I think I understand Senator Saviello's point about it's a town issue. I wish it was that simple, because part of this system, the statewide system, is we have a state-owned landfill. We have a contract with a business that has a business incentive to attract waste away from waste to energy because they make more profit. So we are players in this, whether we like it or not. We have laws and restrictions about solid waste landfills that add to their costs and expenses. So it would be a bit naive to say to towns, sorry, but this is really your problem, you go solve it. Now, clearly they are key stakeholders. But, we have a situation in which a variety of things have unfolded in this state with, at times, state help, state money, state ownership, that are part of the dynamic that's being set up here. And that's why I think we have to agree on some set of principles that say, by the way, the underlying principle here is to divert trash away from our landfills because of the environmental implications, because of the capacity issues, because of what we know is in the best interest of our communities. Now, how do we come up with a solution that honors that principle? Just like, to me, the one about we have to distribute the pain across the state instead of put the burden on one group versus another group. Because, again, there's the whole issue of how do we basically encourage people more at the local level to say, we could do better. Let's look at those who are doing better. Let's find ways and systems to support them doing better. And I think it would be naive to pretend that there isn't a major dynamic here, which is we have a business on the state-owned landfills, that we have a contract with, and they have a business incentive for more trash to show up in those landfills. And that is a dynamic of what is affecting waste to energy as well. And that we have put into place this waste to energy as part of a bigger solution. And it would appear to me that it would be absolutely irresponsible to just walk away from that right now. But it would be just as irresponsible not to have a 10-year plan to say, how are we going to evolve? Because this is not simply a group of 280 or 90 towns. This is a state system that has state implications. And by the way, the actions of one town or municipality can impact any body of water, the safety of citizens and other communities. What came up about the acidification of the ocean in Maine recently is the biggest contributor is runoff. Where's that runoff coming from? And how do we basically say the interest of the whole has to be considered versus thinking about this as a bunch of individual hamlets that really have no connection or interrelationship.
Having heard then that we are at an impasse on the fee side, can we take a look at some of the other aspects of the proposal that I presented, namely the bottom three, and then the issue of perhaps if we are not able to assess a fee to assist the stabilization of the waste energies, can we discuss rebating back to them some of the fees that they're now paying to dispose of their solid waste, ash, grit, and glass, so we can talk about the expense side. Are those two things on the table, Senator?
first four deal with fees of some kind. So those, as I said, I haven't gotten into them, but my first reaction is they're fees, so I can't go there. The 5 and 7, I have 7. You have 6? Oh, these were, so I'm working the explanation, so I can pay them. I think that fits into what I said about the EPA hierarchy. And 6, so I believe we need to look at that real hard and figure out how we can strengthen that perhaps. And 6 just fits with what I just suggested in a way with the MMA stuff. I'm not going to go into 5. I think you guys need to start, and you probably want to have the AG or someone come down and talk to you about what the long-term contract was with Ms. Casella. And you weren't here when that happened. I mean, I did vote against it, but there were a number of reasons why I did. Because there was a crisis in hand. There was a mill about to close. And they came in here and said, well, we'll sell you our landfill, and we bought it because we needed the capacity. And there is a contract that's in place. So I would be really careful when you start playing with that. You may find that you've opened the state up to other problems. I can't be specific there, but I just know that having been here when that happened and following the time on this committee, but 4 and 6 certainly fit into the concepts I have. I don't fleshed it out, but I think they do nicely. Particularly 6 fits so nicely with what I've just suggested. Because, again, that's where people need to realize it. I mean, let me say about fees so that I'm clear too, because I've shared this with others, is that if I went to a municipality, take my municipality, let me use it as an example. We made the capital expense to go to single sort. It's going to cost us money for a couple of years. Why should my citizens have to pay to take their trash, and the rest of it goes to Northwood? Why should we have to pay extra? We made an investment to increase our recycling. Now we need help with composting. Okay, but let's suppose that my municipality said, we're not doing recycling. Then I think I should be penalized because we basically have said the hierarchy that we don't care about. And then if I put something in between, if I've created a contract that's a long-term contract of where I'm supposed to supply this much material, and if I reduce that and I pay a penalty, well, I shouldn't be charged that because I signed that contract. So this, it's very broad terms, but that's something that somewhere along the line we have to consider, which goes back to my conversation with MMA this morning, is that if I find in this meeting that we truly have people that are saying, we can't do this, my question is why? What's your problem? Again, Ricky, not knowing Ricky, what he was about to tell me this morning, here's a very rural area that is being successful at that. Their recycling rate, I guess, is very high. So what are they doing that another rural community couldn't do? We need to have that kind of conversation.
Senator, would there be any way to develop a credit system for the efforts that give some kind of recognition for the kinds of expenses some of these municipalities have?
Credit for what?
Well, credit for investments you've made. Yeah, investments that you've made, so that there might be a fee system, but in a way, the exemptions that we have now came from that probably, which is part of the problem perhaps. But I don't know, some way to address that. It's so different in so many of our municipalities.
That's why I said we have to understand why. That might be a great, as I said, might be a great solution. I don't know why yet. I don't know why.
And that would be the symposium that we might
help understand
say in March or something.
Well, no, I think with their proposals, MMA would do it, and they would do it as part of their annual meeting, which would be October. Which to me is fine. It doesn't matter. It still gives us plenty of time to deal with it going into, because we're never going to deal with this yet, 127. And then we really would
the planning part, we're not going to be done. I'm worried about some of our immediate needs.
But anyway, that's my thoughts.
I'm wondering if we need to break and caucus with our two groups. I don't know. What are people's thoughts about? We have a real disparity, I think, between and I credit to the notion that there are a couple of things here that we can agree on. Getting to your point, Representative McGowan, what are some of the basic principles that we can agree on? Yeah, that's what. Yes.
I have another committee meeting at 1, so I would suggest.
What is it now?
Can we come back at 12, and then at least we'd have a half an hour?
Sorry, I can't. I have a commitment at 12. Yes.
Without apologies, I've been in other committee meetings, so I haven't been to your meetings as of last week, but I've thought about this. It seems to me that this is still quite a profitable conversation, and we have, I think we should build on the areas of agreement, which per this particular sheet here, Doyle and Nelson, numbers 4 and 6, and I'd just be interested in exploring those in a little bit of greater detail. And then since I do have this meeting at 1, I'm not going to be able to be here then. We'll have to deal with the financial part of this. But from my point of view, I think that Representative McGowan and Saviello are really right on. It's our job, I think, as a state to provide a framework. While this is a local problem, the state nonetheless provides a framework for education, for roads, for many other different kinds of things. And I think that's our role here. And if we come out of this with the agreement that the hierarchy is appropriate, as I suspect there's agreement, we can have thumbs up or thumbs down so we don't beat that one to death, that there'd be a longer range plan which has been dealt with, and I think I suspect we're all going to agree on, that it has to be slow and progressive, that we have to take into account the various legal contracts that exist. I mean, we can't do something tomorrow. And the concept of shared pain is an interesting one, because if my community has already felt the pain over the last 3 years and your community hasn't, we have to me, that's one of the sticking points. I think we need to investigate that, how that's going to work. But so I think that's the larger framework, which I think is very important that we continue to explore. I have to say, and again, I'm not really up to date. I'm concerned that in order to preserve the hierarchy, we're still going to need the waste energy plants. I don't know the specifics of, are they going to go out of business tomorrow or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, given the changing landscape, natural gas, etc. And that's the thing I need more edification. But it seems to me that we could, if we agree on the reduce, reuse, recycle, and that becomes statute, that puts people on notice that by X date, a year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, your community, which is having a good deal right now, just landfilling, you're going to have to get along. We're all Mainers. We're all going to have to get along with this together, and your community is going to have to bite the bullet, and that way begin to plan.
Senator, could you expound on, could you expound on that? Everybody's going to have to share in the pain. Communities are going to have to step up to the plate and share in the pain of the what?
Of adhering to the hierarchy, adhering to this larger principle that we've agreed to, that in Maine we have reduce, reuse, recycle, compost, landfills at the bottom. So it's not, if your community has done a very good job by reducing everything to, taking out everything that can be recycled, reduced, etc. My community is still sending mattresses, cardboard boxes, paper, etc. to the landfills. I think my community should have to live up to the standard that your community has already adopted.
We're talking about stepping up to the plate and contributing to these incinerators. Is that what you're talking about?
You've got to, you've got to figure out how to do that. Right? I think that if we
Is that what you mean in sharing in the pain?
Yes. In some way or other, you have to figure out how you're going to get you can recycle and reduce everything, and you can get to the same end because you're far, far, far away. But I think my opinion is that if you're far away from the incinerator, you have to do something else that's going to allow you to reduce the total amount you're putting into a state resource, which is landfills.
So you believe that sharing in the pain is part of the sharing in the pain is contributing to these 3 incinerators in Portland, Warrington, and Auburn to help them continue to function.
Or somehow we're you're putting into landfills. So you're adhering per statute to our pyramid. In other words, I'm not mandating that you go along with my particular solution to my community, but I am mandating that you adhere to the standards that we agree on.
That's what Senator Savio was talking about. I just want to know, the communities in Maine are, you feel, obligated to support in some way these incinerators because in the long run they're contributing to reducing the amount of waste going to landfills.
Actually, that's not what I said, but I was saying something. My purpose is that the hierarchy does not include incinerators. It includes reducing. If your community should reduce, you should do whatever you can there. Your local laws. You should reuse. You should have your swap shop. You should have your recycling. The best in the state, as is Ricky's. In other words, there are other ways you can get this. You need not have to. In my community, it turns out maybe waste energy is the best way to go. In your community, maybe a different way, but I still think we all need to have our noses held to the grindstone.
Well, energy recovery is part of that hierarchy.
My understanding is he's saying a commitment to this, however your community can do it. And yes, the waste to energy is a part of that hierarchy, but that doesn't mean you have to use it if your community.
Well, I'm more concerned about our obligation to send a fee to these three incinerators. I want to get your opinion on that.
I'm sorry, I thought I had given you my opinion, which is to say this is going to have to vary for different communities, and that's why I think that the adherence to the principle is the major one. Should you have to pay another $10 a ton because you got to ship everything from the northern border to down to Perk? I think that's not going to fly. I don't think that's appropriate. But should you have to feel some pain? Should you have to put your money into a better swap shop?
Feeling some pain is paying our fee to the incinerators.
If I could jump in, what I'm hearing in the middle here, essentially, and it somewhat reflects what I've been thinking, is that if you look at the hierarchy, and if, in a very simple way, if it's cheaper for a community to put their trash in a landfill, then that's likely to be their first choice, not their last choice. That's all. I mean, and the problem with that is that the communities that are doing that in a good way, I mean, it's good for those communities because it is cheaper, and that's their choice. And that's kind of at the crux of a lot of what I think we're struggling with, and I'm struggling with, and we have over the 5 meetings and up to now, is that if it's cheaper to landfill, it doesn't matter above the hierarchy, whether it's burning or some other kind of processing or recycling. If the cheapest chosen route is landfilling, then many communities will do that, and that's their right as things are structured now. And that's what I hear you saying. So it's not whether we take money from towns and give it to the incinerators. It's how does the hierarchy work in the interface of money and statewide policy goals and community costs and needs. That's what we're struggling with.
Yes, Representative.
I think in response, Representative Ayotte, to your question, if we agree on an underlying principle that says we all have a responsibility to divert trash from the landfills, that's an underlying principle. One option is waste to energy. Another is to improve your recycling rate. So rather than think it's simply about fees to waste to energy, no, the principle here is everybody has to do everything they can to divert the waste from the landfills. Whether you seriously take on composting, which is a big percentage, that's the principle. Then we ought to be building solutions around those principles. Ultimately, the thing we have to acknowledge is that we've been told, and it seems fairly trustworthy, that if the waste to energy plants go down, that's going to be 800,000 tons of waste into our landfills, which would financial burden simply on some part of the state and not another. But I don't know how we can possibly come up with a reasonable solution if we don't agree and adopt on some set of principles that will guide, our process.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Because all we're talking about is tactics.
Can I just, rather, we're kind of going round and round, and I want to hear from Cooper and Representative Reed, and then I do want us to. Maybe we stop it at noon, have some time to think more, caucus, and come back tomorrow. We have the whole afternoon tomorrow to talk about this further. And rather than get into circular discussions here, we can, knowing better now where people are, how our thinking is going, look for some ways. I would like us to make a unanimous report out of this committee, whatever it is, because if we can't do it, it's not going to fly anywhere else. So that's what I'm hoping for. Yes, Representative Grant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're seeing now that this, in fact, it's not even really a partisan issue. It's a geographic issue. And I found myself through the course of those committee meetings during the summer realizing that I come from a community in the central part of the state. We are landfilling our trash. We belong to Hatch Hill. If we pass something like this, I've certainly heard pushback from my community. I feel that. I heard those people from northern Maine say this is our only option. It's already extremely expensive for us per ton to tip our trash. I heard that. But I also heard that if we don't do something to keep the waste to energies as part of a viable part of the hierarchy, not only are we going to be diverting more trash, but I stepped back and asked myself, how much do you think our tipping fees are going to increase across this state if the waste to energies go out of business? If the landfills become the only option after recycling and reducing and composting, we're down to landfilling, people. And if we think we're going to sit here and not do anything about that, and we're not going to feel the economic repercussions of it, I think we need to think about that. So I hope we can come up with a solution. I certainly pledge to continue to work really hard to do that, to find some language, to find a solution that's fair to everyone, but that gets at the heart of this. And I think we can do it.
I just want to respond to a couple things. One, you gotta go back to the waste management plan. The two things that when you build the Pareto, if you set, I know we're dealing because we've got a waste to energy bill here, but anytime you're dealing with it, you look at where your high costs are, where your problems are, and you look at that, it's composting. And that's what we got to focus, in my opinion, we need to focus our energy on. But let me say something that sits into this economic analysis. My community does landfill after we recycle. The recycling products, we get no money for, but it's zero to dispose of it. So our savings is not going to landfill. That's what real savings to us. We forget it too. I think a 3-year payback on the crusher or compactor. So you must not forget, if it landfills, it's still expensive. Still, when you multiply the number of tons that are there times the cost, it's not cheap. I mean, it's our second biggest budget item that we have in our process. And ultimately, as a community, we may decide, and I'm going to ask it at the town meeting, should we consider charging per bag? Because I think that will make people more focused on what they're going to do on that. But that comes back to our decision. So, but I will work on this with you too. I just don't want you to think of belittling all the work you guys have done. You did a phenomenal job. You brought up some questions that needed to be answered, and I'm very impressed with what you've done. You've done a great job. I mean, this is not something that's simple. And you found that. But remember, we last session, I wanted to do this kind of thing. We didn't get there. You did. And it's great. So thank you very much for that. But thank you.
Representative Cooper and then Representative Reed.
Thank you. I want to build on something that Representative Grant had said earlier about a kind of a point system. It seems to me that if we're agreed, and I think there's total consensus on this, that the hierarchy should stand. Every community generates X amount of refuse, and of their trash by recycling, 20% by composting, blah, blah, blah. So they've got X amount left that goes to landfill. I don't know exactly how the point system should work, but you get more points for the higher level disposal methods than you do for the least favored. And at the end of the day, you pay. A community that fails to do all it can to eliminate most of its trash through favored means will wind up paying more and will have an incentive to institute programs that will achieve that result. And so that is a source of a fund that can help maintain the energy to waste and also to assist communities with recycling and reuse and other favored means. Such a point system can work in such a way that towns that do use landfills are not the only ones that are paying. It really has to do with your entire record of how you're approaching the problem. So that would be my suggestion of how we should devise a plan. We need a source of income to keep at least one of these energy to waste programs going, because they've lost the contract is finished and they're on the edge. A couple of the others can coast for a while, but they can't go on forever. But we do have an immediate problem. We've got tens of millions of dollars invested in these plants, and it is a better method than landfill. And I think any solution has to take into account the need to preserve them, at least for now, until some better technology comes along.
Right. Thank you, Representative Reed.
I just want to see if I can grasp what has been talked about here. It's my understanding that the hierarchy has been encouraged all the way through this thing. Is that correct? And communities have not fulfilled, to our understanding, fulfilled to what we expect, or what's been designated hasn't been fulfilled in all communities. So Senator Bradwick is saying that we ought to be more adamant in establishing rules which says to you, you're going to do this, or how you come up with taking care of your trash. In some cases, this is all driven by costs, and some of these people are a long ways from incinerators, which means that if we stipulate this is the hierarchy, these are the rules, walk ye in it, then they're going to have to find a way, and we are actually saying to them, mandating to them, that you're going to do this. And I've heard Representative Grant say that she's got some pushback on this, and you're going to get pushback on this because maniacs are going to say to you, mind your business. We'll take care of ourselves here in our little towns. Now, I like the idea that we continue to encourage them, and if some towns prefer to pay to throw, I liked what I heard from North Berwick, was it Mr. Moore? I thought that group of people that came in here made a lot of sense in how their proposals and how they went forth. And I still think I am absolutely opposed to fees assessed on communities. I know that we need the incineration, but I am not in favor of assessing fees all across this state to make that happen. I just, those are taxes to me, and I don't approve them. I believe the local communities should decide how they're going to take care of their controls, of their waste controls.
incent people to do it if the costs for landfills are still so low? What's the incentive to get people to recycle more? And I don't necessarily expect an answer right now, but how do we get?
I think if we encourage Maine people, the people that I've known, I think Maine people will try to do, in most cases, what's right. Not all of them, but I think a lot of them will.
You don't think we've been trying to do that over the last 30 years, 20 years? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Senator, yeah.
Just 2 points. One, that's why we got to find out why they don't do it if they don't. Because again, in my case, we as I said before, we get zero for recycling. Right? We pay the transportation costs. We pay that same to both places. So it's off of our budget. That tonnage doesn't go to a landfill. But keep in mind, when this all started, way back before any of us ever had the dream we'd be here, the cheaper alternative was burning. So Janice, you said it perfect. Is what's the technology going to be in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? That's where why I emphasize we have to look at the EPA hierarchy, because it's recognizing gasification, hydrolysis, all the things that the technology is being developed for energy resources. So I think I'm going to support those. So just 2 statements, that's all.
Can I just jump in on process, because I know,
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Joan, you have a meeting at noon. Janice, you have one at 1. Process-wise, my sense, sitting here listening, is that the committee is unlikely to take a vote, or I would not recommend that we vote on this today. So a tabling motion would be in order, and what Joan and I have talked a little bit about, whispers over here, is there a lot of point in coming back to 1 today or not? We disposed of 2 bills today, as I recall, looking at Janice, but we voted on 331 and 1528. So we still have 794 and 1483. Yes.
Just 1528. 331 was tabled.
That's what the vote was. I remember the vote. So I'm sorry. So 331 was tabled, but so we may come back. So in any case, we are scheduled to come back tomorrow, and we have all 4 bills on the work session for tomorrow at 1. So hey, we got one of them off today. So we're in good shape for tomorrow. So our thinking is, since we all have to be in the building tomorrow anyway for session in the morning, why not take the afternoon off? And that would actually allow a lot of these conversations while you guys are here, and if you're willing to, be free to those that don't have other commitments to get with each other.
Yes, we do.
That's what we're getting at. Why?
And we have scheduled work sessions for tomorrow afternoon. So.
Which we always anticipated that we would have needed tomorrow to continue 1428 anyway. So in a sense, that's kind of what we would be doing. And I think it's not clear that the other 2 bills will be in the posture tomorrow, but it may be. So we would know. We would keep all 3 of these bills on the schedule for tomorrow's work session. For those of you listening and having to make travel plans, etc., tomorrow, the plan is, if we do table this, in fact, then tomorrow we would take up LD. Likely, we'll keep on the schedule 331, 794, and 1483.
Yes, Representative Campbell.
Move to table. Moved by Representative Campbell. I heard Senator Saviello, I think, second. You guys are so quick on your seconds. But I like to repeat it for the clerk and the analyst.
Yeah, I was going to do that. Fine. Go ahead.
Repeat.
Go ahead.
Any discussion?
We can't discuss.
I'm sorry. Yes.
All those in to table. This is a motion to table. Any opposed? It's unanimous, except for Representative Wall. Go ahead. Yeah, we'll start at 1 tomorrow.
What's that?
No, you got vetoes.
I would, well, we can't because it's advertised.
In the other.
Work session at 1, but I would suggest that the Democrats caucus tomorrow at 11:30, if you could maybe bring your lunch so that we have a chance to think further about this, and maybe, I don't know if your group wants to do that.
We talked this morning, but we'll talk some more.
Maybe we'll have, and maybe we can do some talking together too.
I got to figure out the mechanism. That's what I'm trying to go through.
Yeah, great.
I'm not available at noon tomorrow. And also for those listening and for the committee, we have a presentation, a GEA review from the Soccer Corridor Commission tomorrow at 1 p.m. We've allotted them 20 minutes to talk.
That's right.
And then we've allotted time for questions and answers, etc. Questions from the committee to them after that. So more than likely, if it went really fast, maybe we'd be ready at 1:15, but you could probably plan more on obviously the committee here at 1, but for those listening and that don't have to be here for the Soccer River Corridor Commission, we will take that up at 1, and then we'll probably take a short break if we need it, and then we'll start right in around 1:30 or so, more or less, with these.